Listen closely. Can you hear it? That's the whisper of the wind off the Gulf, carrying tales that stretch back centuries. They say every brick in Fort Pickens is absolutely drenched in history, right? But what if those same bricks are also soaked, not just in saline air, but in something far heavier? Something like sorrow, perhaps. Tonight, we're not just visiting a monument. We're stepping inside the formidable Florida fort that stared down an entire Confederacy, held the legendary Apache leader Geronimo captive, and still manages to keep visitors glancing over their shoulders long after the sun dips below the horizon. Get ready, because this isn't just a history lesson, it's an experience. We hit Pensacola early, hours ahead of schedule, so Dusty and I decided to chase the horizon a little farther, to the Gulf Islands National Seashore. Traffic through the city was brutal, but once we crossed into the park, the world quieted down. White dunes rose around us like waves frozen mid-crest. Somewhere under a pile of receipts and camera batteries, my National Parks pass had vanished. Murph strikes again. The ranger waved us through anyway, after spotting my veteran ID, a small kindness that felt like a good omen. Dusty and I aren't exactly beach people, but even she went quiet at the view. The sand glowed like ground pearl, and the Gulf looked almost unreal. Too blue, too calm. By the time we reached Fort Pickens, the gift shop was minutes from closing, so we grabbed our trinkets first, proof we were here, then stepped into history. Rising majestically from the sugar-white sands of Santa Rosa Island, Fort Pickens isn't just a building. It's a colossal stone battleship anchored against the tides of time. Imagine its scale: 40-foot walls, 4 feet thick, constructed from over 21 million bricks. Each one laid by enslaved workers who toiled, sweated, bled, and often died under the relentless Florida sun. This pentagonal fortress guarded Pensacola Bay, one of the finest natural harbors in the South, second only to Norfolk. For almost 2 centuries, it stood as an unyielding sentinel. But here's the unsettling truth. While its massive walls proved impregnable to cannonballs, they were undeniably cracked, deeply and irrevocably, by pain, injustice, and controversy. These wounds, inflicted not by gunpowder but by human suffering, run far deeper than any physical scar. January 1861. Weeks before Fort Sumter steals headlines. Here in Pensacola, a small but defiant Union garrison under Lieutenant Adam Slimmer watches as Confederate troops seize the nearby Navy Yard, Fort Barrancas, and Fort McCree. Brigadier General Braxton Bragg demands surrender, but Slimmer famously refuses. An uneasy truce briefly settles, but President Lincoln's order for reinforcements in April shatters the peace. Overnight, Fort Pickens becomes a solitary Union thumb, defiantly poked into the Confederacy's eye. The quiet is replaced by thunderous artillery duels across the bay. Shot and shell scream, scarring the fort's ancient brickwork. Union gunners pound Fort McCree until its walls crumble like melted sugar. Through 4 brutal years, the Stars and Stripes remained nailed to the flagpole here. Pickens became one of the very few Gulf forts never lost to the South, an isolated bastion holding strong against all odds. But holding the line came at an unimaginable human cost. Inside those unyielding walls, an insidious enemy stalked the garrison. Relentless heat, rampant disease, and the terrifying specter of yellow fever. Fort construction and maintenance relied heavily on enslaved laborers. These men, denied basic freedom, were forced to haul water and mix mortar under the blazing sun, their only payment a meager ration and the ever-present lash. Diaries paint a grim picture. Men collapsing in stifling 105-degree casemates, wool uniforms plastered to blistered skin. One Ohio private wrote home, "We fight mosquitoes, fever, and our own officers harder than we fight rebels." The fort that never fell strategically, nonetheless, claimed countless lives. Slowly, quietly, one sweat-soaked, fever-ridden hour at a time. This was a war of attrition against the elements and human dignity. When the cannons finally fell silent, victory parades never reached these ramparts. Instead, prisoners replaced soldiers. First came deserters and court-martialed bluecoats. Then, in 1886, Fort Pickens became the unwilling stage for one of America's most infamous incarcerations, Geronimo, the legendary Apache leader, and 16 of his warriors. Washington broke its solemn promise to allow the Chiricahua Apache to return to Arizona, exiling them thousands of miles away. Pensacola businessmen saw Geronimo not as a human being, but as a sensational tourist draw. Shackled, humiliated, and stripped of their dignity, Geronimo and his warriors were forced into menial labor, clearing weeds, stacking cannonballs, and compelled to pose for paying customers who gawked through the bars, treating their suffering as a macabre spectacle. To add to the cruelty, Geronimo's family, including women and children, were shipped 300 miles away to Fort Marion. There, in a crowded, unsanitary camp, disease ripped through them, claiming the children first. Tourists left with postcards. The Apache left with nothing but the crushing weight of exile. Their families shattered, their future stolen. A stark reminder that even in victory, profound injustice can prevail. So listen, if these stories are starting to feel heavier than the oppressive humidity inside those ancient casemates, you're definitely getting the picture. If you believe history, and especially the difficult parts, deserves remembering, then please hit that like button And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into America's forgotten battlegrounds. Trust me, more echoes, more shadows, and yes, more ghosts are coming right up. When Dusty and I finally stepped inside, the air changed. Cooler, yes, but dense, heavy. Park rangers swear the fort's darkest stretch, an underground passage blasted shut by an 1899 gunpowder explosion, still carries the faint, acrid smell of sulfur and burnt hair. Visitors report whispered Apache words brushing their ears in the oppressive silence. One reenactor once sprinted out, terrified, insisting he saw a Confederate sergeant saluting through a shimmering haze, his face half gone, buttons glowing red hot. Cell doors swing without draft. Footsteps pace the parapet when no living soul is found. EVP recordings, captured at midnight, chillingly repeat a single word: Anza, the name of one of Geronimo's young cousins who tragically died here of measles. Coincidence? Or a lingering cry from the past? Union troops weren't the only ones to die on this sandbar. Confederate prisoners, captured after the 1861 bombardment, were locked in the same casemates they once targeted, a cruel twist of fate. Their lingering presence is just as poignant. A Pensacola woman, walking her dog at dawn, vividly recounts seeing 3 ragged men in gray leaning against the seawall, rifles at their side. As the cruise ship horn sounded, they simply vanished, but they left behind a distinct, unmistakable stench, the damp, heavy odor of wet wool mingled with faint pipe tobacco. It's a smell she claims no coastal breeze can quite erase from that specific spot. A phantom scent, a lingering memory of lives cut short. Many hauntings here feel older than the bricks. Local Choctaw spoke of little people on Santa Rosa Island long before the fort arrived. Could some phenomena be echoes of these ancient spirits? Rangers tell chilling tales. Tourists clutching sudden nosebleeds near the powder magazine. Children laughing in empty staircases. Stone-cold hands gripping ankles inside the blacksmith's forge. Who are these entities? Geronimo's warriors? Restless Seminole? Or something far older? A primordial energy layered beneath centuries of human tragedy and conflict. No single answer satisfies, but these unsettling questions keep the flashlights flickering at midnight. They remind us this land holds stories deeper than any fort can contain. So what do we make of all this? Officially, history records Geronimo left Florida in 1888, transferred to Mount Vernon Barracks, then Fort Sill, where he died in 1909, still a prisoner of war. Yet visitors still lay tiny beaded bracelets on the floor of Cell 15, claiming the old man whispers gratitude. Skeptics cite wind pressure, iron expansion, suggestion. Believers point to a chilling 2009 infrared photo, a 6-foot-tall heat signature, shoulders slumped, standing where tourists aren't allowed. Was it a trick of the light? Or a thermal anomaly? Or something else entirely? Whatever the truth, the fort's misery carved grooves deeper than any cannonball scar, leaving an undeniable imprint that continues to resonate. As daylight faded, Dusty and I walked down to the beach. We stood ankle deep in the Gulf, waves curling around our bare feet, the fort's silhouette dark against the coral sky. The same sun that once glinted off musket barrels now sank quietly into the sea. Fort Pickens never lost a battle, but it lost countless moments of humanity. On the scaffolds, in the sweat gangs, behind the iron bars that framed Geronimo's final sunrise over the Gulf. Walk its tunnels today, and you feel the chilling arithmetic of empire. Bricks counted, prisoners cataloged, souls subtracted. Whether the voices you hear are wind, memory, or something refusing to die, the fort keeps asking one simple yet profound question. Who really wins a war when the cost is measured in restless ghosts? Drop your own answer or your own unexplained experience down in the comments. And if you ever visit Pensacola, bring a jacket for the sea breeze and maybe one extra flashlight, just in case the batteries drain faster than they should. You've been warned.